And now for the AFEX commodity update, it's mostly red on the commodity market summary for the weekend at May 30th, 2022. The number of deals in AFEX commodities index were up 51 and 0.39% respectively. Well, we have joined us Suleiman, financial market analyst at AFEX, with the details of trading in the week ended. Great to have you on the program. Yeah, so give us a rundown on the market activities on the exchange for the weekend at May 30th.
Okay, actually, in terms of activities on the exchange for the past week, it was a little bit subdued when you compare it to the previous week we had, with the total turnover falling by about 89% over the week, from 19.92 billion in the previous week to about 2.15 billion in the week under review. The total volume traded on the exchange also toward the same path, falling around 89% also, from 75.8 million contract in the previous week to 7.6 million contract in the week under review. However, the number of deals traded went up from 302 deals in the previous week to 457 deals in the past week, representing a 51.32% upturn. The AFEX Commodities Index, the ACI, closed the week in the green by 0.39%, going from 454.99 points to 456.77 points. The AFEX Export Index, the AEI, declined marginally by 0.38%, moving from 198.70 points to 197.95 points in the just concluded week. So in terms of the volume of contract traded, the number of cashew and sorghum contract traded on the exchange witnessed slight increases over the week. However, the maize contract traded on the exchange witnessed a significant drop from 72.9 million contract traded in the previous week to just 4.86 million contract in the week under review. Soybean and paddy rice also witnessed slight decreases in volume traded, with ginger and sesame closing the week flat. In terms of price performance of individual commodities on the exchange, cocoa was the only commodities that closed the week in the green, returning 0.82% week-on-week return, representing 9.78 naira increase to close the week at 1,200 naira. Maize declined by 8.23% during the week under review, representing a 20.01 naira decrease to close the week at 223.1 naira. Soybean returned a 3.22 price decrease to close the week at 413.24 naira. Sorghum and paddy rice also closed the week in the red, with week-on-week decline of 5.64 and 4.60% respectively. The price of cashew on the exchange also declined by 1.26% to close the week under review at 617.28 naira. With ginger and sesame, however, closed the week flat, maintaining the same price levels from the previous week. Thank you, Larry.
All right. Thanks so much, Suleiman, financial market analyst at AFEX. Thank you for that summary there. Taking the conversation forward now, the Africa Economic Outlook report published last Wednesday by the Africa Development Bank predicted that Africa risks sliding into stagflation due to a prolonged period of slow economic growth accompanied by high inflation as price pressures and supply chain disruptions emanating from Russia's invasion of Ukraine stifle output. Globally, food security is a major talking point and conversation at the moment. Let's talk to Hemente Orka, Vice President, Corporate Services at AFEX. Join us right there from our Abuja studio. Great to have you on the program.
Good morning, Ladi. A pleasure to be here.
Morning. So, as a player in the commodities market space, what are your thoughts about this situation, right now? I know in 2021 we didn't see this coming, but here we are. Food security is a problem right now.
Sure. No, the outlook is actually quite dire. And not to sound alarmist, but I think the report is correct. We could be sliding into a food crisis if we don't intervene in a manner that's appropriate. So if you look across the board, inflation is quite high. I was speaking to a colleague of mine in the office this morning, and he was saying a carton of chicken is over 40,000 naira now. We see fertilizer prices increasing every day. those prices are up over 300%. So it's definitely an issue. A typical government response at this point would be to say increase interest rates, which drives up the cost of borrowing and then slows down the economy because not a lot of money will be moving around. But if the economy isn't growing, then that brings up another predicament as well. So we're looking at a growth rate of about 2.7 to 3.4%, inflation topping 13% already. So yeah, the outlook, quite frankly, is dire.
Yeah, quite a bleak outlook. But the effect of the war is firm, on African countries because of the over-reliance on importation. But how can commodities exchanges like AFEX actually help, reduce this reliance on importation of commodities by African countries?
Definitely. So the name of the game is about boosting local production. So working with an organization like AFEX, we provide market access. That's our primary responsibility. So if a farmer knows that they're going to have an avenue in which they can sell their commodities, they're going to plant more. Secondly is providing a structured way to finance that production. Working with an organization like AFEX, you have full transparency, into who's actually producing, and you have a certain confidence level when you then invest in the product. Same vein, we can also provide price transparency and price discovery to the farmer. So they can place a forward contract before they even start planting. They know that this is the price at which I can sell my grains. And so I have a confidence level going into the season that I'm going to be able to have a market and make a good return on my product. This season especially, we're seeing people come to us looking for fertilizer because it's in short supply. They know if you work with us, you can get good quality fertilizer at a good price. And finally, there's leverage. So I already mentioned that prices are going up over 300% for fertilizer. So imagine, taking that same amount of money that you would have spent last year to buy 3 bags, you can only get 1 bag this year. So dealing with AFEX, you put a deposit down, a down payment, and you then have that excess capital that you can then leverage to do other things, such as bring in mechanization, maybe even get higher improved seeds to boost your local production. So there's a big advantage with working with an organization like us.
Quite interesting. But could you identify, policy directions, that the private sector roles, that could actually help mitigate this intending stagflation in Africa?
So it's tough, right? Because I said you have to be careful with the mechanisms that you use. So just increasing interest rates is not necessarily going to help. So there's going to be a short-term and a long-term intervention here that needs to be deployed. So in the short run, definitely we're looking for some sort of fertilizer subsidy to come into the market. Farmers are having a hard time acquiring the inputs that they need, and so a subsidy would help reduce that burden on them. But then, also supporting other organizations that are in the business across the whole value chain, organizations like ours, like other market makers as well, to help them boost local production. But longer term, definitely has to be other mechanisms that are used. So need to look at infrastructure and what is being deployed there. Nigeria loses a majority of its food to post-harvest losses due to bad roads, bad logistics facilities and the like. So any intervention along those angles is definitely going to go a long way. And also looking at the currency play as well. So organizations like Dangote are exporting a lot of their urea right now, because the incentive really isn't there for them to sell locally. So any policy plays that can, strengthen the naira and look at make it worthwhile for organizations like that to sell their fertilizer locally would go a long way.
Right, but what is AFEX planning ahead of the planting season to, enhance farmer productivity and in spite of this inflation rate, we're seeing with rising prices of fertilizers?
So we'll do the same thing we do every day and every season, right? It's with the primary goal of helping the continent and Nigeria precisely feed itself. So that's been our mission from our start. Working with an organization like us, you're going to get inputs, quality inputs at the right time, at the right price, at discounted prices in which you can then leverage and do other things. And so we're just planning to scale and grow our business. A lot of partners that we've been working throughout the years with are becoming even more reliant on us this season because of everything that's happening. We're also trying to have higher level conversations along policy and saying what sort of interventions can we foster to help ease the burden on smallholder farmers and the country at large this season.
Well, very, very interesting times for countries and farmers all over the world. Thank you so much, Mensah Orka, Vice President Corporate Services at AFEX. It was great having you on the program.
Thank you, Ladi. It's a pleasure.
All right, we'll take a moment now.